Hey guys, welcome to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski here with Dr. Adam Martin, a pharmacist and author of two books, RxU, and also a student guide that's circulating heavily right now around pharmacy campuses, all about the Gen Z pharmacist, how to maximize your career, how to dominate pharmacy school. So it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And by the way, you are a Diet Doc program owner in Pittsburgh. So very cool to have you on board within our company. But you had an idea that I thought was incredibly timely, and we wanted to create this podcast together. Coronavirus is going rampant right now. It's we're not even at the pinnacle yet here in the country as we are recording this, but yet a lot of people are finding themselves at home. I work in a downtown community, and the parking garage is empty. It's very, very eerie to see this. And so a lot of people are forced to be home, probably finding themselves a little bit frustrated, to understate that a little bit. But maybe there's some opportunity there. I mean, I've said this to a couple clients, Adam, where it's kind of nice and almost feels like a reset button. It's like, okay, everybody's kind of freaking out collectively. We've got this moment where the whole country's in sync. Everybody's facing the same crisis together. Now we can kind of reset our priorities, and I kind of smell some opportunity here.
Absolutely, Joe. Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction and for having me on. Always a pleasure to be back on the podcast. First and foremost, coronavirus, as we know, it's affecting us globally as individuals, as groups, and regardless of what industry you're in. But I'm coming as a pharmacist. I literally just came from work. So we are healthcare professionals are on the front line. So we do see this. It is something to take seriously. You definitely want to respect all the CDC guidelines and everything else. And a lot of people that are healthy or feel like they're, quote, not affected, that's the biggest group that is testing positive are people 20 to 39 because they're healthy. Unfortunately, while you're blessed with that, you carry that to kids, immunosuppressed, or people with weakened immune systems, elderly patients that have a lot of conditions. So while you might be healthy and feel like, I read the symptoms, it's not that bad, it is a big deal because, again, that's the whole social distancing stance right now in our country to really help prevent the spread with that. And with that being said, of that group of people who I'm in, the 20 to 39 who are healthy, everything's shutting down. I'm in Pittsburgh, and yesterday was the last day that any gym is open. It is locked down until April 1st to prevent community spreading, all of that sort of thing. And among that group of people, who is my audience and who I work with and I'm involved in, a lot of people are saying things like, I'm going to be bored. What a waste of time. Nothing's going to be open. I love eating out. There's no restaurants are open. So there's a lot of this stuff. And while it's for a good reason, health and safety first, instead of looking at it as why is this happening to me, ask instead, how is this happening for me? And just like you said, social isolation might seem like a hindrance or a burden, but it actually is an amazing opportunity because it's literally the gift of time. Social distancing, yes, it's talking about being around groups of people, but you can actually use this as social media distancing. And what I mean by that is we're in a social media world. I mean, you and I did a podcast on this. That's where my business grew, started from, and thrives is on the social media platform. But all too often we get lost in that scene and we lose our connection with the people that make that up. Real, genuine, in person, and not necessarily physically, especially now, but reconnecting with people and being fully present in that moment. So there's three tips or three categories that I wanted to touch on in this podcast that I thought would be innovative ways to maximize your time and take your social distancing to 10x your life. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, well, let me, before we get into those three things, because I kind of had the same thought when I was just conceiving of what we may chat about. I thought of the common areas of life, kind of like your social life, your personal life, your work life. So it'll be interesting to see what you're coming up with on your end. But I have to say, just to close out this little segment introduction on the seriousness of this, I'm one who, for the last 2 weeks, one of the first people to really say, wait a second, guys, out of these two camps, everybody's saying, oh, it's nothing, don't worry. And everybody else is kind of freaking out on this side. We gotta be cautious because if we're going to reduce the CDC modeling predictions and really make this like It's just not that big of a deal. It's going to take this kind of collective effort. If there are people, like you said, the people testing more positive are those who, think it's no big deal. So they're out and about and they're getting those issues. I had a pharmacist, and I really feel bad. This is almost my kind of public apology, making amends, who posted on one of my informative posts, why is this such a big deal? Why even test these people? It's just normal. It's just life. We're going to face it anyway. And we got a couple posts in, and I realized that she was a pharmacist. And I said, whoa, like, time out. Like, do your employers, do your colleagues know that this is your perspective? I thought you were in the business of preventing these kind of things. And I was a little bit impassioned, and she was obviously, kind of defending herself. And so she ended up, deleting all of her posts and unfriending. so there's some social right there. I got rid of a friend. That's some good social distance. But yeah, I want to say in just, the reason I bring this up is that's how divisive something like this can be. It is truly just not a time to be divisive. Even if you don't think it's going to be a big deal, you could be a carrier, you could bring it to somebody. I mean, how would you feel if your cavalier attitude enabled you to carry it to somebody who gave it to somebody else who died, or somebody in your own family? You just never know. There are people in their 20s and 30s dying and on ventilators, and of course they have a better chance of surviving, but that's the reality we're in. And I think, we just have to face it, get through it together. We're going to come out of it fine, but it's going to take a couple of months.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Just to be clear, that pharmacist was not me. Didn't post that. We're still friends, so it's all good. I really mean no disrespect, no harm to her. It was kind of surprising, but I get it. We were still, that was a few days ago, and things are escalating by the day. So I think a lot of people's attitudes are becoming more serious. Absolutely. People are really starting to get a grasp of this, because regardless of what industry you're in, I mean, I was talking to my colleagues about it, and it's like a ripple effect in a pond. Like, it starts just one, but now literally everything. The economy, there's a whole impact on loans and federal rates and everything else. Restaurants are shut down now. So a lot of people in that industry live paycheck to paycheck. That's going to affect the unemployment rate and all that other stuff. And, I could go on and on about this. You guys, it's a huge ripple effect on that. But instead of focusing on the negatives, yes, we want to be proactive with this. Like you said, prevention is key. Someone famous once said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. This is coming from a pharmacist, but it's definitely something that we need to adhere to and help those who cannot have this. So they have, they've got issues, they've got comorbid conditions, they're elderly, so they depend on younger people to come and provide care for them. So if they're not taking these precautions, while they might be isolated, the people caring for them can come into contact and really wreak havoc, because they are the high-risk people. So definitely something to be taken seriously. But speaking to those healthy people, because that's most of our audience here, people that are really after the fitness in that 20 to 39 group, you will be affected. You will be socially distanced. Your habits, your routines are going to be shaken. And that can really wreak havoc with our mindset and everything else. And what I want to really share in this is there's opportunity in this. So while you might feel bored, you might starting to get a little irritated or frustrated at the situation, I'm going to give you 3 different categories where you can actually use this time to grow and use it as an investment in yourself. The first one, and I'm sure Dr. Corey approves of this, is the mindset component, because that's where it all starts, right? Our thoughts, how we view this situation, the questions we ask ourselves. We can ask, why is this such a big deal? Why is this happening? Why is everything closed? Blah, blah, blah. And that leads us down this negativity focused hole. And if you're alone asking negative questions, it's not going to be a good idea or environment to grow in. Instead, this is an opportunity. So I want you guys to think about this. How many times have you thought or said, I'm too busy for da-da-da? And specifically, I'm talking about relationships, family, friends, people that you know and like and actually love, but you just don't, quote, have time. Think back to this past holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, when you were together with your family that you haven't seen in a while, and you really enjoyed catching up with them. And every now and then, they pop in your head, and you think, wow, it'd be great to connect with them. And then that's it. Like, it falls to the wayside, we get busy, we get carried away, and that distance grows. I like to think of this as, I call it the spinning plates analogy. So imagine having a stick, okay, and you've got a plate on top of it and it's spinning, right? So it's spinning fast. That spinning is representing the time you're spending connecting with that person, whether on the phone, text, whatever. If you don't connect with that person, that plate, the spin is going to slow down. And what happens when a spinning plate slows down on a stick is it starts to wobble. If it keeps slowing down, that plate is going to fall off the stick and shatter into 1,000 pieces. That's literally a broken relationship. But if the plate starts to slow down and you speed it up, touching the plate, that is by increasing communication with that person, checking in, just saying, hi, how are you doing? Doesn't have to be a long thing. That speeds up the plate and it keeps spinning on the stick. So you keep that relationship fresh and strong. The quality of our lives really are impacted by the quality of our relationships. So use this time to make a list of people that you actually like and would like more in your life that you haven't talked to in a while. Just write out a list, and that's probably going to grow to 15, 20 people. And then you don't have to call them all in one sitting, but what if one person each day you just reconnected with them? Because guess what? Right now, you're going to have a lot of free time, and chances are they will too. So use that to really invest in your relationships with friends and family that you haven't talked to in a long time. That's the biggest thing. The other thing is focusing on what specific questions you're going to ask. And you might be thinking like, Adam, what are you talking about? Like, we're not playing 20 questions. I can't be around anyone to play that game. I'm talking about your internal dialogue, because we are overtly negative, or we're wired to think on the negative to prevent danger, as we're wired as humans. But we're going to ask things like, why is this happening? How come I have to deal with this? Why is nothing closed? Oh, the gym's closed. That's so terrible. My gains are going to be lost. What if instead you think, what have I always wanted to do with free time? What things have I said I want to do this, but I don't have time? Literally make out a list of things you've thought of, and now is the time to do that. Personal development, reconnecting with people like I just talked about, getting into a book, or jumping into something that you've been wanting to start or finish, but you haven't, quote, had time to do it. Literally, now is the time. So that's the first thing, is looking at the mindset piece of this social distancing arena.
Well, I'm a little concerned that you went right to shattered, fractured relationships. So if there's anything that you need to talk about, we could just slow down.
Well, that's why I thought it'd be time for a podcast, Joe.
Okay.
Now, again, that's an extreme example, but when you lose touch with people, it feels like they're distant. And there's that kind of awkwardness, like, I know we know each other, but I haven't talked to you in like 2 years, so I don't know what's changed in your life, but you feel a stronger connection. And just like the basic psychological needs, we need that connection, that feeling of connectedness to really feel purposeful, complete, whole. So while that is an extreme representation of that, it really does have some sort of truth to it. So I just want to paint that picture to allow you guys to see or hear that this is a great opportunity to keep that plate spinning so you can keep that relationship strong through time.
Yeah. Kidding aside, I mean, really, think of how good it feels when somebody reaches out to you that you have not heard from for a long time, or you're just checking in to say, hey, man, look what's going on in the world. Are you okay? Can I help you? Can I do anything? So yeah, really big opportunity. That for sure is going to help, bring some people peace of mind. And one of the things I've been talking about too through this, Adam, is as we, from a business perspective, because I do, a daily, short, brief podcast tip called Coach's Clinic, and I'm speaking to fitness professionals, and I've been talking about disruption as well. And you may see these things that are disrupting your business, but what can you do now, not just to bridge that gap, but what about an opportunity that says, look at all of these problems that are coming to the surface in maybe our industry, my business, that I can take a big jump way farther than it's just a Band-Aid through this situation. But maybe there's something revealing itself in here, in culture, in our industry, that I can change my business for the better, for the long haul. So I really think this is a strong opportunity for people to think this way. So mindset is definitely that first category. What do you got for the second?
Absolutely. And I'm glad how you said, using this time to take a step back and look at where are some problems that have not been addressed. And I don't know if you plan that or not, but this dovetails perfectly in the second category, that being nutrition. That's huge, right? And especially during this time when there's so much fear and concern on health, what you are, what you eat, right? So we want to make sure that we're fueled properly. So with that, there's a lot of diets out there. I mean, talking to the diet docs right here, but there's a lot of diet. There's a lot of, eat this and don't eat that. There's a lot of restaurants, what's good, eating out, things and that. But if you can maximize your time in the kitchen with prepping ahead, so the key to success in any endeavor is planning ahead. So what if you use this time not only for yourself, but you use this time to think, what's the biggest crutch people have when they're trying to get healthy? I don't have time to cook. That's definitely high on the list, right? So what if you came up with innovative ways, not just for yourself, but for your colleagues, friends, and or clients, for how to maximize your time in the kitchen with bulk cooking, with simple recipes like make magic meals under 5 ingredients or something like that. You have the opportunity to get creative because literally you've got time and you've got a kitchen and you've got no interruptions, right? Because businesses are closed and everything else. So I'm actually going to turn the tables on you because you are the nutrition expert, Dr. Joe. So what are there any sort of ideas or tips you could give to people, because most of the people listening, watching this are in the health nutrition industry, focused on nutrition, that you think would be a great use of time during this?
Well, I think it is a great opportunity to consider habits because, sometimes it is just a single hindrance that says, hey, this is my normal schedule. This is what I do. I'm in my routine. And we just don't change. We're not only wired for a negativity bias, but we like routine and we like things to be the same and uninterrupted by change. Your entire life is probably changing rapidly right now for at least a short period of time. So I remember, Adam, when my wife started a retail gift store, and it was the first time that she had stepped away from, some part-time business things, but had been home for 20 years with our 4 kids. And all of a sudden she's got a schedule. She's got to be, at her shop, but she still has a family to feed. So all of a sudden, everything that you're describing here had to instantly shift. So all of a sudden, she is in the morning putting some things in a slow cooker for the evening, or that night she's cooking ahead for the next evening. And all of these things are happening. It did remind me of when I was in college. We were married, and before we had kids. And I used to do this because I was working 3, 4, 5 jobs at a time, going to school full time. And we would spend all day Sunday just prepping all of our food because she was working as well. And whatever we were able to generate Sunday is what we ate for the entire week. And that was a habit that just absolutely defined that time in our life, just like this new habit. But it often takes a change, some kind of stimulus to create that. And, I mentioned in one of my own videos that invention is the mother of necessity. Or is it the other way around? Necessity is the mother of invention. I think that's it.
Yeah.
The cliches get jumbled up. But anyway, I really think that's an important tip. And I even had a couple clients who have been homebound a little bit longer. They're out on the West Coast where things are worse. And one of them, Dr. Jennifer Souders, our medical director, said for her, it's very important to keep that routine. She said, I'm waking up at the same time. I'm keeping my training schedule at the same time because I just don't want to let the chaos impact me in a negative way. And yet another person who works in Silicon Valley said, I'm taking this opportunity with the gym being closed down to get outside and run a little bit more. And I'm doing some functional workouts on my own. I can't go to the gym. And so there's a lot of new discovery. We want to keep that semblance of routine so that we don't feel like a fish out of water, but it's also the time to explore a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think this goes back to one of the most impactful tips you ever gave me since I've known you way back in 2013. And that's this concept that you created of structured flexibility. And that's why routine's so important, but you also need to have that bendiness of being able to realize that life is not black and white, and you need to be able to pivot and add that dash of color. So the structure being your general routine or habit of waking up this time, reading, and then you've got, that other part in the day. Flexibility, everything shut down, no restaurants, no gym, but you still are living. So what are you going to do to have that structure of personal development time, morning routines, evening routines, and then add that flexibility component so that you don't feel like you're broken, but you can just bend to how the world changes and be proactive instead of trying to figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I think the greatest thing that you can do, because we do want to find that balance between keeping some routine as well as looking for opportunities to accelerate. And I'm kind of, this is one of the things I'm developing in my mind for some projects I'm working on. But I feel like we really should only try and focus on one thing at a time. And I don't mean like in a non-multitasking way. That neurologically has been defined over the last few years. That you just, multitasking is kind of a dumb concept. Our brains can't even work that way.
Yes.
But I mean more on a global scale. I am somebody who tends to bite off more than I can chew. And all of a sudden I've got 5, 6 great big projects that none are getting finished. And so I've really refined over the last couple of years to say, look, I just can't do that. That's this. I'm working on this now. When that's finished, then this is in queue. But this time, as I'm looking for the next couple of weeks, maybe the next month, to be a place where society really does come down to a crawl, I'm going to put my foot on the gas. I mean, I've got one major project I'm working on right now, and I can't wait. Like, I hope everybody survives this, and I'm not trying to be, a negative person, but I'm really looking forward to this time because I am going to dive in head first and absolutely crush a major project I'm working on.
And I know you're going to crush it, man. I'm excited to hear more about it because I know that when opportunity comes in, it's like you're on. And it's just great to see people with that mindset and that opportunity framework, because it's true. Yes, there's definitely struggles, and we talked about that in the beginning of this episode. But aside from that, what are you going to do with this time? And one of the things that you said of your friend saying, I can't go to the gym, what I'm going to do, ties directly into the third category. And that's the big elephant in the room, especially with this audience being fitness minded. Gyms are closed. Oh, or are we going to survive? Like, if this doesn't kill us, then that will, because it's like, what are we going to do? Right? It's crazy. People are freaking out. So this is a concept that I learned being a personal trainer many years ago. And I use it because I travel a lot. So whenever I'm trying to stay on track, because I'm a competitive natural bodybuilder, competed 4 times. So I always try to keep my physique on point. And when I travel, you don't necessarily have the best opportunities with being limited on time to roll into a squat rack or deadlift bar or something else. So instead of looking at the heavy weights that you don't have, again, what do you have? How can you be resourceful? So with that, generally, I have hotel gyms, which have lighter weights, if any weights at all. And while you might look at, a 10 or 15 pound dumbbell and think, those are like wimpy weights or whatever. Actually, you can make those be heavier than like 100-pound dumbbells. And the concept is using your time wisely, specifically focusing on time, that being time under tension or TUT training. So if you guys generally do a workout or an exercise, whether it's bicep curls or even just body weight squats, let's just go no weight at all. You do a regular squat tempo, right? You go down, pause, up. Well, if you take that down portion and make that a 20-second descent from start and then 20 seconds until you hit bottom, you can do one of two things. You can add that explosive power and go right back up, or you can be really malicious and do a 20-second increase again. So literally, that one rep took just about a minute, and that will make 5 reps just feel like ridiculous. But that's just one quick example of how you can actually use time and lack of weights to really give yourself the best workout ever. And I will warn you, if you've never done this principle of time under tension training, you will feel it in muscles you forgot you had. It will be an awakening experience. And just like you said earlier, Joe, a discovery.
Yeah, there is so many things that you can do. There are so many things you can do with a few bands. You don't even have to go to a sporting goods store. You can order these things online, handle bands, regular elastic bands of incredible thickness and tension. But Dr. Souders, even over the weekend, was talking about that as a world record holding powerlifter, she's not going to the gym. She has very limited weights in her home gym. So she's working on deficit deadlifting with lighter weight. She's getting just deeper. She's doing all kinds of things. For squats, you can load up as much weight as you can. Put your spouse on your back and do one-legged split squats if you can't do regular squats. Yeah, they're just, besides time and attention being an accelerant for your progress, so can higher intensity training, doing
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
functional work with high speed, giant sets, Tabata type training. So I would absolutely look at this as an opportunity to say, how creative can I get? And maybe there are parts in my normal routine that are just lacking. I mean, I could absolutely become a stronger, maybe bigger, fitter person by changing this, knowing that, of course, in the next month or two, gyms are going to be back open. But I will say, this is one reason after this pandemic that I will never not have a home gym, because while I'm giving this advice, it's easy for me because my 120-pound dumbbells and my 5,000 pounds of iron are still in my basement with squat racks, deadlifting platforms. I'm fine. I got no worries.
Yeah, that's the other side of that coin. You can be Dr. Joe and have a whole gym downstairs.
Well, I will say, I mean, that's, you get, if you're going to prepare for the apocalypse, you might want to prepare for that in your hidden bunker in your backyard. You better make sure you got some weight.
Absolutely. And I just want to challenge if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on your podcast platform, I hope this just inspires some sort of just a new frame of thinking as, wow, this is an opportunity to really hone and go into those areas of mindset, of nutrition, of fitness that is discovery that I haven't really tried before, or you've been in a routine of doing those things. And while it's good to have that structure of routine, why not add some flexibility for how you're going to fill that space? And I hope this just gets you thinking of the ideas that we proposed, but we would actually love to hear things that you have. So looking at the fitness part of it, we talked about time under tension, and we talked about cardiovascular, so high intensity. Well, there's a whole other realm. There's flexibility. You could look into mobility, all kinds of different facets that you need to do, but you felt like you never had time because the focus has been on crushing the weights or getting your time down on your run or whatever that might be. So I actually invite you all to share your ideas because we want to hear from you. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, post in the comments below. Let us know how you are going to use and maximize this time. If you're listening to this on your podcast platform, iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever that might be, repost it and tag Dr. Joe and myself at the Fit Pharmacist so that we can hear your ideas, because these are just a few, but I hope that they shared that spark to get you thinking in that kind of framework and get even more creative, get innovative to fill that with solutions, things that you've always wanted to explore but felt like you were spread too thin. Now is the time. It is a gift. It is an opportunity. So use it wisely and share what you're learning with us, because we want to hear from this too. I know for myself, Dr. Joe, I'm always looking to grow. I'm always taking notes. So I hope that you listeners or viewers take us up on this and share that, because love to hear what you have going on during this time.
Yeah, and thanks. That was a perfect summary. I'm not going to mess that up, Adam, but I do want to let people know that your information is going to be in the show notes. Dr. Adam Martin, pharmacist, founder of the Fit Pharmacist. I know you have a passion for helping other pharmacists, pharmacy students, and even other allied health medical professionals. Just make sure that they're fitting fitness in for themselves, that they're putting their own health back into healthcare, your tagline. And I'm just so proud that you're doing that. I love how many people you're inspiring. But you also are speaking to a lot of universities and groups and pharmacy schools. And so I would invite people, if you're interested in that, if you're listening and saying, this is the kind of guy that I need my students exposed to, you've got a busy travel schedule because you do that quite a bit. So I'll let people contact you with your show notes, information, things that we put in there, Adam. But thanks so much for being on. And we will definitely have you back another time. And for all of you guys watching and listening, thanks again. And we hope we'll see you next time in the Life Mastery Podcast.